Direct from the web, it's Billy Masters Live. And now, please welcome your host, Billy Masters.
Oh my God, we're here. Welcome to Billy Masters Live. Okay, so this is it. Those of you who are saying to me, what would the hair look like if I blew out all the curls? This is it. My guest, Charles Busch, and we were gabbing backstage. I have to just get this ready. And so that's why we were running just a teensiest bit late. But it was funny because he noticed, oh, you have an avant-garde haircut. It's like I'm going to be in a touring company of Cabaret. And I had said that it kind of looked like Rosie's when she had produced Taboo. So, oh, wait, it's this way. So see, I can have it on my face a little bit. I can push it back. I could put it in a chignon if I wanted, but I'm not going to. Anyway, welcome to the show. I am Billy Masters, and please somebody put up the date because I don't know. Thank you. Today is Thursday, September 24th. Welcome to the show. Just a program note for next week. And I will believe this when I see it. Next Tuesday, we have Miss Lonnie Anderson. Can you imagine? She played Jane Mansfield in a movie, and don't think I'm not going to ask her about that. Lonnie Anderson from WKRP. You wouldn't expect that I would want to talk to Lonnie Anderson, and you would be mistaken. So, yes, and then Thursday, I believe we are having Florian Klein, who the former gay porn star, although I think he may still do some sort of porn, but also wrote a musical called Shooting Star, and they're doing a benefit for the Actors Fund next week. So we will have him here. And I've got some other friends who might be in because they're also doing a benefit, but I can't announce them yet. Anyway, that's what's happening next week. So on Tuesday's show, I had spoken to you all about mourning the passing of my good friend, the fabulous, the amazing Miss Jackie Stallone. And I know it's really kind of incredible that I will talk about amazing and fascinating Jackie Stallone. But Jackie Stallone you have no idea. Jackie Stallone was fabulous. And here's a picture of Jackie and I. There I have yet another hair color. But in that, on Tuesday's show, when I mentioned Jackie Stallone, I mentioned meeting her with several people, and I mentioned one name that several fans, I guess it just leapt out at them, and they said, "Did you really meet Elkie Summers?" Yes, I did. Elkie Summers. Why wouldn't I? Because I just, I have this very offbeat kind of group of people who I love. And I get into a room and I see, there can be Liza, there can be Cheetah Rivera, there can be Joan Collins, but you tell me there's an Elkie Summers in the room, I just lose my mind. I don't know why. Couldn't explain it. But one of the people who I adore more than probably anybody I have had on this show is Charles Busch. And the reason I can say that with some certainty is because aside from being one of the favorite people I've had on the show, oh my God, what's happening? Oh my God, is the music playing again? What is happening? Oh, I know what's happening. Hold on. Okay, for some reason, all of a sudden, I was getting our theme music in my ear, and that's because it was opening another window. So the reason I can tell you that I love Charles Busch more than most people on this show is because I love Charles Busch more than most people. And I found some photos of us, but I think I'm going to bring them out first. Ladies and gentlemen, the divine Mr. Charles Busch.
Well, hey there, Billy.
Hey, honey, look, we're almost coordinated. We're like in purples and reds.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I love your red wall. Look, you've teamed your shirt with your wall.
Yeah, I'm doing Clash. I guess
No, I think it's good. Okay. How are you, sweetheart?
I'm doing fine. Just came back from the hairdresser. And
that's what you had said to me, that you weren't sure if you were going to have time. So that's what you had today.
Yeah,
How was it going?
Had him take out the blonde, so it's respectable if a bit drab. So,
Oh, well, now I just got my haircut last week. How is it for you going someplace and getting your haircut during COVID?
well, it was the first time I'd done it. First
Yeah.
time I've been there in 7 months. Yeah, well, they certainly took every precaution, and temperatures and things, and masked, and we were masked the whole time. I never took the mask off ever. So,
And was it one of those masks that just goes around the ears, or did it go around your head as well?
around the ears. Yeah,
Yeah, so they can just do your hair.
yeah. So it seems certainly very, very safe.
Did you feel safe being there?
I did, but what amused me though is that this place, it's a kind of high-end salon, and
Of course it is.
ultimately, well, it was always it's sort of like the blonde central, and so everybody works there is blonde. All the women, sitting there are getting blonde, and this time everybody had brown hair. And
oh, really?
And the woman who sort of runs it, I didn't, with her mask on and this dark brown hair, I didn't know who she was, and I thought, who's this dame knows coming on to me like she knows exactly what I want. And I'm like, it was Ivy, and I said, what's going on? She says, I think it's just like the current mood in the country is not for blondes. Everybody's going dark brown. That's the way to,
Well, I think yours looks lovely.
Well, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. You've got a kind of interesting event going on this weekend with your play, The Tribute Artist. First, I want to talk about the play because I remember, when did I see it? How long ago was that?
Wow, maybe it might be as long as maybe 7 years ago, possibly. Maybe
so
more.
I found this photo of us. Let's see if I have it here. Did I install? Yes, I did. So this is a bunch of us backstage.
Yeah.
That's you, Cynthia Harris. Is that Bjork?
No, that's Sandra Lee. The original
Sandra Lee, that's who that is.
And Hella Dolly, the original Tiger Lily in Japan. And that's also Tony Sheldon, the wonderful Australian.
Fabulous Tony Sheldon, who I love so much. But you and Cynthia had been in the play together when I saw it.
Yes. And so we have the whole original cast except for Cynthia. She really was otherwise occupied. So a wonderful actress, Carol Manfredini, is playing her part, who I hadn't worked with in years. And Carol was replaced at one point Julie Halston in Vampire Lesbians off Broadway.
Oh, really?
And she played it with David Drake for about 2 years.
Yeah. So I wonder if I saw her. I'd have to look up my program. Maybe I did.
If you saw David do Vampire Lesbians, good chance you saw Carol playing.
Wow. I'll have to look that up. But I think it's a really interesting play. And I loved it. First off, I mean, this isn't going to matter to the people at home, but it was a gorgeous set.
Oh, spectacular. Because the play takes place in a it's really about this beautiful Upper East Side Manhattan townhouse that's decorated in this very high bohemian, elegant manner, and we really were lucky. It was beautifully designed and just gorgeous stuff in it.
And I remember when I saw it, I remember saying to you, I wanted to move into the set because the details were so extraordinary.
Well, it really had to be because the play is so much about real estate. I mean, the premise of the play is that it was a contemporary story that I'm a female impersonator who'd been in a Vegas review for 25 years and is let go. And whenever I come to New York, I've stayed as a guest in the home of this very reclusive old woman who'd once been a fashion designer and very European sort of grande dame. And Julie Halston plays my best friend, who's been known as New York City's worst real estate agent, named by New York Magazine in their poll. So anyway, so I'm staying in her home, and then the old lady dies in her sleep, and Julie and I figure out this foolproof plan that since nobody's seen this old lady in so long, and I can really do her, that I'll pose as her, and then we'll sell the townhouse for $30 million, and
Well, we should point out that she dies unexpectedly,
Yeah,
not through any nefarious reasons. She just
No.
dies and has no family. But you also were able, didn't you at the beginning of the play, like dress up as her just to make her laugh or something?
Yes, at the very top of the show. She'd been a former fashion designer, so I'm wearing one of her trademark kind of caftans and one of her wigs, and
here's a photo from that scene. This is you and Cynthia.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is remarkable how much you embodied her in that production.
it was a lot of fun. She's a wonderful, wonderful lady.
Oh,
So
people may know her from Mad About You. She played Paul's mother. Or Bostonians, she was the spokesperson for the department store Bradley's. She was Mrs. B. She laughed when I told her that because she said, I haven't heard that in 20 years. I said, well, I'm old.
She's a wonderful woman.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, so she passes away and you kind of take over her persona.
Yes, and it's a foolproof plan. But of course, everything goes awry. And the first blunder is that we didn't realize that there was a niece living in Wisconsin, and that the house actually had been the old lady's dead husband, who died many years before, had actually left the house in his will to this niece in Wisconsin, but that his wife could live there till her death. So when this niece in Wisconsin finds out that the house is being sold, she's feels like her aunt is cheating her out of her inheritance. So she shows up with her transgendered son, teenage son, and so she's furious. And then hilarity and hijinks ensue, and then it turns out that the when as posing as Adriana, I tell the grandnephew Oliver, I tell him about I just use information that Adriana had told me. I talk about this former lover I had, this much younger man who I was so in love with, who I hadn't seen in 25 years, and Oliver finds him on Facebook.
Of course he does.
He shows up, and he's this, aging, very loose con man, and so it's a very funny play, and it got and to be quite honest, it got very mixed reviews. The New York Times, Brantley and the Times gave it an absolute rave.
I remember.
Just an extraordinary rave review.
And where was it when I saw it? It was part of a subscription series, wasn't it?
Well, it was produced by Primary Stages.
It was, okay.
As part of their season. It was at 59 East 59th Street Theater.
Right.
But the other critics were kind of funny. And I think in a way, I think it was a little bit before its time, even though it's only 7 years.
Really?
But, because we were, I thought it was interesting to try to. I had never done a play where I'm like someone who's has to impersonate a woman. I've just played female characters.
Right. This play, you start out actually as a boy, and I don't know before then when I had seen you play a male character.
Well, I did a play called "You Should Be So Lucky." I
didn't see that. No, I missed
that. Yeah, I did that. But what's interesting in this play, I actually never get out of drag. I'm playing a male, but I'm always dressed as Adriana. And I thought, when I approached the idea of doing this kind of play, which goes back to Charlie's Aunt and Some Like It Hot and Tootsie.
Oh, sure, right.
It's such a comedy staple, and I thought, what fresh thing could I have to offer this old situation? And I thought, well, I'd never seen it where the guy is a professional female impersonator, and it has an androgynous nature. So
right.
Yeah, because the story is always that's a very heterosexual butch guy who then has to do it, and the comedy often comes from either how badly he does it, or
the fish out of water premise,
or he's finally sort of getting it, like in Tootsie, he's getting it, and but a lot of humor always comes when he's caught without his wig on, and I gotta put the wig back on and stuff. And then a big element of all those stories is this kind of homosexual panic, though. Since they're so heterosexual, what happens if someone falls in love, another man falls in love with him or is attracted to him while he's in drag with a woman? And that's a big source of comedy. So I don't know. I just thought, well, coming at it from a gay perspective, what would happen if I'm attracted to somebody who thinks I'm Adriana? Maybe there's comic potential there, which I thought there was, and
I also remember liking the multi-generational aspect of it, that Adriana is really sort of a mentor to you. She is a generation older. And then the grandnephew, of course, is the up-and-coming generation. You had really these 3 different generations with
4.
different perspectives. Well, there 4? Oh, right. The niece.
Mother,
right.
The young boy's mother. And I thought I was very proud of the character, this transgendered youth, Oliver, and I thought it was very interesting. But the reviews that were not good seemed to focus on that they were disappointed that we weren't following the set rules, that I was never caught without my wig on. And because what I thought was kind of interesting was in the play, what happens is, it's amazing how much people want to believe, that they'll make a lot of allowances if they really want to believe. And so
even in despite what they see.
Yes. And so Jimmy, my character, he's so comfortable as Adriana. He's just so into it and comfortable that he stops wearing her clothes and starts wearing just his own jeans and a shirt. He just keeps the wig on and the makeup, and he starts actually even dropping her European accent at one point, but the niece who's falling in love with, who's somehow, she hated her aunt, who she met only at 10 years old, is actually kind of enraptured with this new version of her aunt. And so she just kind of, buys into it. And so even and Adriana, it seems like sometimes you don't have your accent at all. And he's, oh, well, I've lived in this country so many years that, sometimes it's really more of an affectation at this point.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting. And
I also thought it was touching because, again, one of the things I like about most of your shows is that there is the outrageous humor and then there is the pathos. They're very layered. And in this show, because it was so exposed, you weren't playing a woman. That artifice wasn't there. So I think the layers really were even more vibrant, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I love doing that too. All of us comics, we all want to play drama, and so I enjoyed that it gets very tender, and he's a rather brittle person, Jimmy, and he finds himself, since he's suddenly being the aunt to this grown woman and her son, he starts fulfilling that role
and becomes very maternal. I remember at the beginning, he's very caustic, and he and Julie are very good at barbs, and yet that really softens as it goes on.
Yeah. But we try not to get sappy about it, and it's easy to take a story like that and get sentimental, but it's a real black comedy, and we continue with all sorts of dark comedy going on. So I don't think we ever get just sort of sappy sentimental, but I like to think it's a touching story.
Well, I think it's also clever. So, and I think it's clever what you're doing for primary stages. So now you're doing this as sort of virtual readings, but you're doing a series of them. It's not like you're recording one. Is that right?
No, they're doing, they are committed to actually having their season of plays, despite the fact that there's no live performances going on. They're taking it very seriously. I've done a lot of these Zoom readings, but they've usually just been live, and we kind of hope for the best. So, so they're doing a full season of plays. It's the only one of mine. Just this
is the only one. Yeah.
But so we really, worked hard, and well, they're charging money. So
then it better be good.
They felt they needed to up the game, and so we shot it over 4 days, pre-recorded it over 4 days, and did close-ups and retakes, and it's
really? So really,
you were really doing it, editing it to a fare thee well, and so it's worth the what seems like a hefty $35 price.
Wow.
I think it's going to be a fun 2 hours. And
have you seen the final product?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen it.
It was directed by Carl, right? Carl
Andrus, who's been my colleague for so many years now, has directed maybe 20 plays of mine.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So so we have a great cast. Julie Halston is my wacky sidekick again for so many years.
Always.
Yes, and it's a great part for Julie. And who else is in it? Carl Manfredini, and then from the original cast, Kiara Keeley and Mary Bacon and Jonathan.
Oh, I love Mary.
Yeah, she's so funny in this. There's this woebegone niece from Wisconsin who's just has the worst luck of anyone in the world, but she finds certain comfort that she's never had before with this fake aunt.
Sure.
And he finds himself kind of being anti-Mame in a sense to this mother and child.
Hold on a second. If you can't hear me, I am still here.
I think we froze here.
Yeah, I know. Give me a second.
I'll be back in 10 seconds.
Yeah, no. This time I think it may be me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. But as long as you can hear me, that's fine. Is this the first time Primary Stages has done something like this?
Yes, they may have. It's possible they may have done a Zoom reading, maybe as a benefit. Maybe, but they've never done anything this elaborate. Because they really are doing a season, and now you're in the middle there.
Yeah, no, it's just how it goes. I have to restart the other browser, but continue. So now you're frozen. Oh no, there you are.
Am I working?
Look at your cheekbones.
It might be the Botox. I'm frozen, but I'm not.
No, my God, your cheekbones are very Dietrich-esque right there.
Well, I've got my ring light, so it's.
Well, thank God. I remember when you were shopping for that.
Yes, I think you gave me advice on it.
I did. So is this Primary Stage's first time doing something like this? You're like the guinea pig.
Yes. Well, I hope it's successful. They're a wonderful theater. They've been around for, was it 30 years? Or maybe more. I'm not sure, but they really do deserve to flourish, and they're very, very committed to new plays, and it's been. I've had a wonderful relationship there since '94. I've done
How many shows have you done with them?
Let's see. I think I did. You Should Be So Lucky, Olive and the Bitter Herbs, Tribute Artist. There might be a fourth that I'm just forgetting. Yeah, a bunch of things. But they're great people. So I hope this new approach is successful. They show. I think it's being shown about 4 different times. Isn't that it over the course?
Yeah, I think 4.
Yeah, it starts September 30th. I think is the opening night. Yeah.
See, I'm back. Oh, and I remember when you did this play the first time, and I remember thinking to myself that it really was sort of a new direction for you, and I was curious what you were going to follow it up with, and then was the Divine Sister what you followed up with, or was that right before that?
I think that was before. I get it all confused. I think it was before. Well, to be honest with you, I just really be brutally frank.
Please, with me, you should.
Yes, Billy, I had all sorts of fantasies that this play, which I was very proud of, and I thought so interesting, that I thought this had Broadway potential, that it could move.
Well, it certainly was beautiful enough, and a great cast.
Yeah, I thought it could transfer, and it's whenever I have found just whenever you have too much emotion attached to a project, it's not a good thing. It usually ends in disaster, and this didn't end in disaster. We got the raved by Brantley and the Times, which could be enough for some people to make a transfer. But
And you had great audiences. I think I saw it twice during the run, and you had and I remember you had full houses and really responsive audience.
So I had all sorts of hopes and dreams, and then it didn't happen. For a play in the nonprofit realm to transfer to a Broadway run where you have to raise, a couple million have to be raised.
Oh yeah,
it's difficult, and all the ducks have to be in a row, and they weren't, and I didn't really have any kind of management that could help me, and so it ended, and it really did kind of plunge me into a terrible depression for
really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I hesitate saying depression because nowadays that has even more grave meaning, but it certainly put me in a very bad mood for about a year and a half at least. So it took me a while to get out of that, and then one of the things that helped was after this, I believe that I went into collaboration with Tom Judson in
doing the lounge act,
doing our cabaret concert act, Billy. And so yes, and as a concert performer, Billy.
Yes.
Yes, playing at Lincoln Center, Billy.
All right. Well, you didn't start it.
54 Below, not loud.
Well, that's a cabaret. That is cabaret.
We play, although I have to listen, honey. We have a lounge would be preferable to some of the places we did play over the past 8 years. Oh my God.
I would just point out there is this one photo of us in your lovely bejeweled green ensemble.
Oh yeah.
And that is beyond lounge. Let's just be very
that's a little bit later in our cabaret career. Yeah, no, that was a fascinating chapter of my life that which I don't think is necessarily over, but to develop all of that and to learn so much about music and doing that kind of performance that's so personal, where you're not playing any kind of role and you're just yourself trying to just tell my stories and singing these great songs. It's been wonderful, but it's almost exactly a year since the last time Tom and I played. And
has it been? Well, yeah, sure.
It was October 29th. I know that for a fact. And what was really lovely is that the last performance that we gave was at Bennington College, and it was all for students, and it was a rainy Tuesday night at 9:00, and I thought, nobody's going to show up for this thing, and this is ridiculous. These kids don't know who I am and could care less. And we were performing in a nice space on campus. It had been a barn that was turned into kind of a performance space. It was lovely. And we just packed them in. I mean, these kids it was a lot of the LGBT kids and theater classes, and they just piled in, and they were sitting, on the stairs and hanging off the rafters, and it was just thrilling, and one of the best shows Tom and I have ever done, and it gave me such a wonderful feeling of hope with these young people seeing our show are so alive and so engaged. And I sang at the end Rainbow Connection, and they just were all kind of swaying, and it just was I was just in tears. It was wonderful. So it was a nice way to go out. Didn't realize at the time that I was going out. But one thing was that I had coming up the last play that I did called The Confession of Lily Dare, and at primary stages.
Right.
Yeah. So I had that coming up. So I knew that Tom and I were not going to work for those for 4 months. But we were very prepared. And before I started rehearsals for Lily Dare, we put together a whole new act of songs from the movies and beautiful arrangements that Tom wrote. And we were all rehearsed. And the plan was, as soon as Lily Dare ended, we had all these dates in California and Ohio. And of course, they all were canceled because of the COVID-19.
Right. Now, I remember
I lost. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I've moved around. We
I'm
got
not.
the other camera back up and running. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. No, where is he?
No, I remember I was supposed to see you in California somewhere.
Yeah, we did a whole. It was a whole tour. We're going to be in Palm Springs, L.A., Feinstein's in L.A., Feinstein's in San Francisco. Yeah, we had this whole tour, and it was all canceled. Yeah, I don't know if I might. It's possible that when things all get back, that I might book it again. And
Now that you're able to do the shows, the plays online, have you thought about doing the Cabaret show online?
well, we did 54 Below right after the pandemic started. They record just everybody's show every night. They just
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they just do it. So they asked me if they could show my show along with some other people's shows. So they showed it. Yeah. So it was nice.
When was that?
Oh, early on. I mean, maybe April or something like, yeah, April or May.
I missed that.
Yeah. No, it's nice. It was my special.
What show was it? Was it the 60s show?
No, my 70s show.
I mean, 70s. Sorry.
Native New Yorker. Yeah, which was something I was very proud of, that show. Yeah.
What was the new show going to be?
It was called Hollywood Soundstage, and it was all songs from the movies. And and I tried not to be too on the nose and just do the same songs everybody does. And there, and I have a lot of stories about old stars of the golden age who I was privileged to meet, like Claudia Colbert and Claire Trevor and Angela Lansbury. Of course, she spans theater and television as well. But and then my own experiences making movies, and just a lifetime of being enraptured by the movies. So it was going to be all those stories, and then these songs were we did beautiful. There were lovely arrangements. It Might As Well Be Spring, and we paired that up from State Fair, and we paired that with the Michel Legrand song "You Must Believe in Spring," which I think from the Young Girls of Rochefort, and April Fools from the Burt Bacharach song from the movie April Fools. A lot of In the Cool of the Evening.
I hope we're going to get to see this show.
Yeah, it was really loved, just beautiful songs. And yeah.
Did you get to perform it anywhere?
Never.
No.
Never at all.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I would hate to waste all that.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a lovely show. I hope that, have you been in touch with Tom? Have you guys continued working during this or no?
Well, not working, but I always involve myself in everything. In fact, he did a great thing this week. My big project, I'm making a movie. I'm returning to the screen after your absence. Yes, I'm making my big return. Yeah, I'm making a movie that I've co-written and I'm co-directing with Carl Andrus, and I'm starring in with Julie Halston and Margaret Cho and Tim Daly.
Oh, so I do have Margaret Cho. You and I had talked about this the last time you were on, and you told me you wanted her.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. I really don't know her at all. So, but we've been Zooming. Anyway, so she's in it, and we got all sorts of wonderful Broadway people: Patrick Page, Dee Hotie, Andre DeShields, Richard Beacons. Great cast. And
when is that going to be done?
Well, we start shooting October 6th.
Oh my God!
Yeah. I leave Monday to be quarantined. We have to kind of create this bubble once we're there upstate.
And you're shooting though. You're shooting somewhere in New York. Where are you shooting?
We're shooting in a studio, very beautiful motion picture studio in Newburgh, New York, called
Back on the Set.
Yeah. So we thought when Carl and I wrote the script, it was just before the pandemic, and so we thought it's a very low budget movie. We thought it'd be the kind of thing where we would shoot in everybody's apartments, and we kind of rotate around people's apartments. We know, but now it seems that we can't really do that. That it's safer to do it all in a studio. So all the interiors are being built on a soundstage, but then we do 5 days of exteriors in the West Village, because it takes place in where I live, in my neighborhood. Yeah.
What can you tell us about the story, if you can?
It's a madcap comedy. Exactly what
madcap.
the public needs. They're craving.
Yes, it is what we need.
They're craving. Yes, it's a contemporary comedy caper film, and I play.
Oh, a caper! I like
Yes,
that.
and a little bit. It's actually, the character I play has the same name as the character I played in The Tribute Artist, Jimmy Nichols, but he's not a female impersonator, but he's kind of the same unscrupulous schemer. And I play this fellow who's a lesser dealer in movie memorabilia, and he's a collector dealer of all this of old movie posters and photos, and very bad reputation. And I look in on an elderly. It's funny. There's the elements of the tribute artist. Yeah. Again, I look in on an elderly male friend who's a film critic, elderly film critic, journalist who's dead before the movie starts. And
like Rex Reed.
Not and so anyway, I find in his home this rare one reel of a very rare lost silent film that it can be very valuable to the right party, and Julie is the old man's niece from Florida, is a widow, and she comes to New York, and together we're going to try to sell this movie, this rare one reel of a 6-reel movie that doesn't exist, and the movie gets a rival person steals the movie from me, and we've got to get back from him, and so madcap hilarity ensues. Yes, and
the hallmark of all good Charles Busch works.
Yeah. So I'm very excited about it. I think,
and I love the idea you're going to get to play with Julie on screen and really sort of immortalize those two types of that chemistry.
Yes, we've never had a chance to do that. And
no,
it's a really great big part for her. Yeah, and yes, and Margaret Cho plays my arch nemesis, who's
she'd be great.
Very successful antique dealer, and but I have to join forces with her because she has the contacts to help me sell this very valuable piece, and it's this whole, I know rather well this whole strange world of movie collectors.
Really?
Yeah, and so it's just fun, and Tim Daly plays a very sexy professor of film history at NYU, and he wants us to do the right thing and give this rare movie, and present it to some place like the Museum of Modern Art, where it can be seen by everyone.
Viewed by the masses.
Yeah, but I just want to sell it for a lot of money to a private collector.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so Tim Daly will go to any means to somehow get the movie away from Julie.
Could there be a love scene?
It's a sexy movie. Although I was thinking about it the other day. I thought, oh my God, my narcissism is just out of bounds, because it's like it's a Mae West movie. Every single male in this movie wants to have sex with me.
As it should be.
Wish fulfillment. Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Well, it's funny because I don't know if I mentioned this on Tuesday's show, but last week I was asked to be in a pilot, a sitcom pilot, and I'm very rarely asked to be in anything other than my own projects. So I said, oh, well, this will be fun. And I'm looking for the way it was described. I don't know if I have it.
Who do you play? Who do you play?
Oh, well, here it is. Okay. The way it was described to me is 30s, queenie, flamboyant, gay. And I said, clearly they thought of me for 30s.
But you have to really be, it's interesting though when you get these descriptions. I know I've had the two where people said, oh, I've written a part for you. And, I think you're so wonderful. And then you read the description, aging grotesque drag queen. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I just focused on 30s, frankly. With the right lighting, 30s, fine. I might have to do something with the hair.
When we were casting our movie, some of these other parts, I realized in the script that the descriptions of these characters were not very flattering. And I said, we got to change this. We can't send this actress, old hag, we don't want to play that part. So we said bohemian hippie witch. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that, I thought of this when you mentioned Mae West, because mine is a period piece in the 70s. And, no, I guess it's got to be mid 80s because they're talking about condoms. I think it's just on the cusp of AIDS. And my character is the wisecracking character. And every line, I read it as if it were Mae West in Sextet. I mean, that's how specific it is.
Well, yeah.
And so in every line ends with a, and so I was reading it to a friend of mine. He's like, you cannot do every line. Said, well, instead of playing with G.I. Joes, I was playing with Barbie.
Oh, well.
And he's like, and my friend said, all you need is like the saxophone in the background going, wah, 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 wah.
I felt the same way, though. I'm worried about this scene with Tim Daly where we're in bed together, and I'm afraid that it's going to be like Sextet when Timothy Dalton walks into the bedroom and there's 87-year-old Mae West lying in the bed. I don't want the audience to go.
I think that it has to, because it's just so funny and it's very specific.
Yeah. I don't want them to feel that way.
Hold on. Obviously, we've got the two screens again. All right, hold on. Okay.
Patty Duke show.
Yes, exactly. So now, when is that going to come out? Like, how is this distributed, or you just filming it and we'll worry about that later?
I'll think about that tomorrow. Yeah, no. We're just making the movie right now, but there's a lot of. The producers are very excited about it and feel that it's something that could go to festivals and not just try to go directly to streaming, but they actually could have more of a life.
Well, we also don't know what festivals are going to be.
Well, it'd probably be a year before this movie is ready to come out. So who knows where we'll be in a year? I hope in a better place.
I hope so. Are you producing it? Are you part of the production team, or are you just, on the artistic?
Co-written and co-directed it. I'm certainly very involved, and I guess I may have a producer credit, but I'm not a producer as far as organizing anything like that or have any of those responsibilities.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's good, because these days I think you need people who know what they're doing, and you just stay out of it.
Well, even tell you the truth, as co-director, it's a lot to handle when you're also playing the lead. That's why I'm glad that in so many ways Carl really is almost more the director in a certain sense. Yeah. Can't hear you.
I'm sorry about that. Have you directed, aside from directing yourself, have you directed like a play of others?
I've never directed a play and never wanted to. I think I would go insane. I don't think I have the patience of because the poor director, once the play is up, there's nothing you can do. You just sit there like, oh my God, what are these nuts doing? I've never had any interest in that, but I have directed film. I did the first thing I directed was for Showtime a number of years ago. They had a series where they were called Quick Flicks, where they offered all sorts of people who had never directed before the opportunity to write and direct a short subject, and I did that, and that was a lot of fun. And that led me to directing a feature called A Very Serious Person.
That had, oh God, who was in it?
Polly Bergen.
Polly Bergen, right?
Yes, and
and wasn't Julie in that too?
Yeah, she's playing a role in that. Yeah, so I did that. And that's the last movie that I've been involved in. So I did direct that as well. But this one I'm co-directing with Carl.
I think that will be fascinating to see you directing. I'd be very interested in what you do.
I'm something of a visual artist. I paint, and so I enjoy the working on the visual aspects of a movie and having a say in the production design and all that. And I like working with actors. Since far be it for me to have actually gone to film school and know anything about lenses and all that. And I've been very lucky that each time I've had a very skilled cinematographer involved. In this case, a really wonderful woman named Gendra Jarnigan.
Oh.
And she's terrific. I'm really learning a lot from her, and she's smart, and she was also an electrician on Sex and the City, so I know we're gonna look good.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've worked so much with Carl that you seem to have a very similar sensibility.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is with Carl, I mean, he probably knows me better than almost anybody on this earth, and it's just we're really always in agreement. We're just we see things exactly the same, and so it's been interesting we have so many new people involved in this movie who we've never worked with before, and I imagine the prospect of two directors. I mean, they're the Coen brothers. There are people who do it, but not that often. And so it's interesting when we have these meetings, and they're almost all Zoomed meetings now.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, I can see how relieved they are that it's never a question of Carl and I arguing or who am I supposed to listen to? It's really, we are just kind of a two-headed monster. Just,
I would assume with all the plays you've done that you have also given, you've had a lot of input in terms of directorial choices.
Well, Carl, in our plays, Carl really he's the director. I mean, he's it. And I think sometimes it's unfair to him that I think sometimes people assume that because I'm also the playwright and I have a kind of a trademark style that Charles is sort of the director, and really not so. Carl is very much in control of those stage productions. It's just what's nice is the fact that he knows exactly what I want. So so I never have to be in a position of like, what do I say or that kind of thing. It's just
because you work so closely together. How much input has he had in your writing style?
Oh, enormous. Oh, he's a wonderful dramaturg. I've never, there's this whole role of the dramaturg in theater, and I know I've heard other playwrights talk about how important that person has been to them and necessary. And my few experiences were, I felt like there was just one too many voices in the room, because basically, I've worked with, considering that I've been around for about 40 years or more,
Sure.
I've really worked with just a handful of directors, because I work with the same people many times. Ken Elliott directed, my first 12 plays or something, maybe more.
Was it that many? Wow.
Yeah, and then Carl has done maybe 15 or more. I don't know, but yeah. So they've all really worked as dramaturgs with me, and in both those cases, with Ken and with Carl, often the play, I have an idea of a play, and we work on it before I've written it. I'll say, I have this idea. I'd like to play.
Oop, I've lost you again. Okay, go ahead. There you are. You're frozen. But you'll be back. I know you will. I love that you are frozen with that hand, with those hands. I wonder if I could do that. Let's see. Okay.
Here I'm back. I'm back.
There you are. You're back.
Yeah. I forget where I left off. Anyway, the role of the director for me, working with Carl or earlier with Ken, is that I'll have an idea and they get involved in it right from the beginning before there is a play.
Really? That early?
I'll say, I'd love to do like a 1930s melodrama where I play a woman who ages from girlhood to old age, and these are the ideas I have. And then Carl will say, what about who would you like to work with? And I said, oh, well, we must write a part for Jennifer Van Dyke. I love her so much. And this is, and then sometimes I'll just show him an outline of where the scenes would be. And even based on that, he'll say, oh, make sure you have another big scene at the end there. You kind of are fading away there. We need you to come back strong, or so he starts giving notes before there's a play.
Wow. So do you outline usually? Do you know where the story is going to go before you start writing dialogue?
Always. Not very prepared. It's to face a blank screen or an empty page is a terrifying prospect and very intimidating. So I try to prepare myself. I've written many notes, and after writing notes on a document of just anything, ideas for characters, a line of dialogue, a moment, movies that are influencing me, what scenes I want to play, actors I want to work with, and who they should play, and who will Julie be in this one, or that. Yeah, and I have all these notes, and then I cut and paste them in order, and an outline begins to appear. And then I shape it more. I like to know where I'm going. And some of it's a little vague. There might be for just 3 lines written on for Act 1, Scene 4, but I know where I'm going, and I know
how you have to get out of that scene.
Yeah, and where I'm going to end up. For me, that's important. It might change. We might after.
I was going to ask, do you deviate much from your outline?
Yeah, I mean, things as you work on it, you start thinking, oh no, this is a better idea, but at least I had someplace to start.
Does your stories, when you're writing them, do they end up surprising you? Do you end up taking turns that you really couldn't have anticipated?
It's possible. I don't recall, but it's possible because it's creative ideas are almost like a dream that they just sort of pop into your head, and some new idea will occur to me. I guess I can't. I wish I could be terribly specific, but I know that there's some new midway through, some new idea will come up, and I think it's just perfectly, brilliant. And I really do love rewriting. I love editing.
Really?
I don't know how many writers are like this, but I love cutting. I love editing. Yes, and
just getting to the heart of a scene.
Yeah, I mean, I have very good internal clock. I don't think I've ever written anything that was surprised me. Oh my God, 3.5 hours long. How'd that happen? No, I mean, I've never been more than maybe 15 minutes too much, and then sometimes it happens. Since almost, with rare exceptions, I've been in the play. Just a couple times I've written plays like Allergist's Wife that I wasn't in, but for the most part, I'm in it. And sometimes Carl and I will just read through the draft, just the two of us, just alone. We'll just read. I'll read my part, and he'll read anybody else. Or sometimes I read other parts too if I'm not in the scene, and we just read through it. And just from that, I can hear often. I think, oh, I'm tired of hearing my own voice. My character's talking too much. Oh, just cut that speech down. There's too much of me. So,
have you written a character not for you that you really wished you could have done? Well, we know we had talked about Allergist's Wife, so that
I did not want to play. I never want. I wrote the whole point of that in a way was I wanted to see whether I could write some really big part for an older actress, which there were not enough roles for women over 50, and so that was intention, and I never wanted to play it.
But I mean, like something you wrote for Jennifer Van Dyke and said, "Oh my God, this is such a great line or a great speech. I would love to play."
Nah, because I like my part better. However, there was a play I did make a mistake on. I wrote a play called Our Leading Lady from Manhattan Theater Club, and it was done in 2003 maybe, and it was a play about Laura Keene, who was the actress who was on stage when Lincoln was shot, and it was a play about her. And I wrote the role of Laura Keene for me to do, and then I got nervous and loss of confidence and decided not to play it. I think I had all sorts of pretensions. I thought, Pulitzer Prize, darling, this play, and I thought, if if I play it, it'll just be thought of as a part for a man in drag. When if I get a biological actress to play it, it will have more of a life to it.
Mhm.
So Kate Mulgrew played it, and she played it very well. We were lucky to get her, and she was marvelous in the play. But I think I wish that I had kept to my guns and played the role. And yeah, I don't know. It got very mixed reviews, but it was one of those things where it was the opposite of the tribute artist got the rave of the Times, but nobody else liked it, and and our leading lady, everybody liked it, but the New York Times. That was no problem. I mean, if the Hartford Courant was the arbiter of what is a hit in New York, I would, because I remember they loved it.
Hold on.
Oh, did I freeze again?
No, I'm coming back. All right, I'm back over here. Thank God I have to have two cameras going and things.
I assume it's my issue. I don't know, but anyway, I don't know if you heard me say.
No,
but,
I heard everything. Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder, is it something that you would consider playing in the future?
It's something that I mean, I'm hoping that eventually this whole Zoom play reading thing will be a thing of the past, and then we'll be back in live theater.
Oh, God willing.
But it's funny, it hadn't occurred to me until just a second that would be something that would be fun to do as a Zoom, although it's a rather big cast. That might get a little complicated. Yeah.
Has there ever been a part that you wrote for somebody so clearly that you heard in your head and they didn't want to do it and you had to go with someone else? You have such a loyal troop around you. I can't imagine.
Yeah, it didn't happen too often. Usually when I write somebody a part, they want to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't recall. I don't recall that happening. And I was so lucky with Alger's wife that I wrote the play for Linda Lavin, who I did not really know, but I wrote it with her in mind, and then she played it. So it was nominated for Tony and all that.
That's an interesting case because that show went on to be played by various different people in all of the roles. Was there somebody who came into the show that really took you by surprise, that you're like, wow, I didn't picture this, and look how well it worked out?
Well, we went at the end of the run, the third cast that came in, Richard Kind played the allergist, and certainly was very different from Tony Roberts, and the play did Richard was wonderful, and the play shifted focus, and it seemed almost more about the allergist and the wife, because we had Rhea Perlman, who's a rather quiet actress, opposed to Linda and Valerie Harper, who are just bigger personalities. So the balance shifted. It was interesting. Yeah. Yeah,
and of course Richard did the reading online.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he's a funny guy.
Oh, he makes me laugh so much, I must say. And of course, that reading was with our good friend Andrea Martin.
Yeah, so I'm crazy about her. I wish I could do a full production with her. Yeah.
Now I don't know if I can get this to work, but I have a clip on this computer from that production that just makes me laugh, that I just want to show. Let's see if we can do this. You think I can? Hold on.
Lee and I were thinking of taking a trip together. Where would you go? On a cruise? I've never been to Germany. We were thinking of taking a boat trip down the Rhine. You're joking. You gotta be kidding. Not at all. You know how fascinated I am by German culture. I've studied the language. Why shouldn't I go? Have you ever heard of a little thing called the Holocaust? Your father's entire family was wiped out in the gas chambers. I can't believe you would set foot on German soil. Most of the time, I'll be on a boat. Oh, you're glib. Your glib tone fails to amuse.
It's so interesting. I hadn't seen that since we did it. And it's been such a learning curve. At that point, I hadn't figured out that I could have the text of the play on my screen and then the Zoom thing, so that I can just be acting and looking in the camera. And at that point, I think I just had the hard copy of the play sitting up there.
Well, it's funny watching Andrea too doing the same thing.
Yeah, we
down.
kind of figured it out. You know, those are the early days of television.
Oh my God. See, imagine these are artifacts from the pandemic that we will look back on and laugh at some point.
But you know, I did feel it was kind of like when we were doing so many of these Zoom readings, and I felt like it was the early days of television. And I was
it really was.
Or something. Yeah, and each time we kind of got a little more elaborate. And now this thing I'm doing, the tribute artist, is very elaborate with editing and all sorts of things. And
I'm so fascinated by that. And I just found a picture of you and Julie in it.
Yeah.
Which is just so fabulous. And then I think this is the original cast.
Yep, there we all are.
There you are. See,
you can see a little bit of the set. How
oh no, it's so. And again, when you look at the picture with you and Cynthia, people can see the bookcases in the back. I mean, there were sconces, and there was such detail. I mean, it was extraordinary.
Yeah,
and this caricature. Who did this?
Was that Ken Fallon? Maybe.
I think so.
I think it's probably Ken. I've never seen that before.
Well, there you go. Look at this. Is what you get on Billy Masters Live.
Yeah, it's a continual surprise.
Yeah. Well, and then speaking of surprises, one of my favorite pictures of us. I just think it's adorable.
Oh, look at we look wonderful there.
That's I know. That's like a press picture.
Really? That's a great picture. That was when I was doing my act in drag. You know, I eventually
you stopped doing. I think that was the last time you did it.
Yeah, but 4 years ago, I started thinking that I didn't really understand quite why I was in drag doing my act, since I was introduced as Charles Busch and then told true stories and sang Sondheim. I didn't really understand intellectually why I'm doing this. So I
remember having this discussion with you, and I remember you saying it was almost because people expected it that you had to do it.
Yeah, so my friend Ryan Landry didn't help, because I asked him if I should get out of drag. And of course, the last person you should ask about getting out of drag is someone who's in drag.
Yes, exactly.
So, so he said, oh, if I went to see a Charles Busch show and he was not in drag, it would be like going to Disneyland and finding out the Space Mountain was closed. So that kept me in drag for at least another year.
Do you like performing in drag? Does it bother you to perform in drag or not?
It's so a part of me. It's so easy.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, this is like an old time thing. I keep going, but the tribute artist, going back to the subject, the
as well you should.
Yeah, but that was in a way what I thought was interesting and what I had to offer in this old fashioned story of the guy getting drag is that I'm so comfortable in drag, and my own nature is so kind of non-binary in a certain sense, I guess, in that I'm just very comfortable with both the male and female in my personality, that I can be in drag and not be in women's clothes. And that's why I would be interesting in this play if my character could still maintain the sense of femaleness, even though he's like many women would be dressed in a man-tailored shirt and jeans. So
which he does, and yet continues to have the affectations. He's still him.
Yes, and so in my act, in a certain sense, when I was in drag doing my cabaret act, I found it very easy to be both myself and then this kind of persona that I have as the grande dame actress. That it's such a part of me that I could just kind of go in and out of it so effortlessly. That's why I thought, well, then I could still be that same person, just in wearing something that tilts me a little more toward the male. So I had to, I had this green paisley suit, male.
Yes,
suit,
well, we have it right there,
with a rhinestone,
which is so gorgeous,
fitted
and beautiful.
Yes, and are you familiar with this wonderful late designer, illustrator Michael Volbracht?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Did you know him at all?
I didn't know him, no.
I only got to know him in the last year of his life on Facebook, and I was a huge fan of his illustrations for books and plays, and then he was a great fashion designer himself, and and he was in retirement in Florida, and I saw, I would follow his posts on Facebook, and told him, "Oh, I'm such a fan," and then he knew who I was, and so we became friendly strictly online, and he began advising me on my costumes.
Really?
Yeah, and he was real kind of curmudgeon, and I was kind of, it's funny for somebody who I never actually met. When he suddenly died, I felt an enormous sense of loss, but I had told him what I was going to do, and that I was going to have this man's suit made, and said, "Well, you should take your designer, this fellow Jimmy Johansmeyer, take him to Gucci, and you just try on the best suit that you love at Gucci in your size, and take 1,000,000 pictures, and have him base it, and you can just have a Gucci suit."
So that the proportions would be.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we did, and all the scenes. So we did that, and then and so we made the suit. Then I wore just a thin little. I wore a T-shirt underneath it, and I just kind of a thin little black jet bead thing, and I thought I looked just wonderful. And I posted a picture on Facebook, and he wrote, "Give me your phone number." I give my number. "You look terrible." Oh, he was like a real curmudgeon.
What the hell's the problem?
He said, "You look terrible." "Why? What did I do?" And he said, you can't just wear a thin little thing of black beads there. It looks silly. You need to fill in the whole front of the suit over your T-shirt, which is every kind of bead, barbaric, violent beads." And I said, "But I don't want to be in drag. The point is I'm supposed to be a fella." He said, "Well, it looks terrible." Click. Well, I got off the phone. I thought, "Oh, that old man. What does he know?" And then about 10 minutes later, I found myself going up to 38th Street to the bead store, and just started buying every kind of colorful beads, and I filled in the whole thing. And he was so right. It was just gorgeous, and finished the outfit. And so I sent him a picture. I said, "Do I look okay?" He said, "Perfect."
See, so that's all you needed was just, I'm looking and I'm trying to get close up of.
And then he did a wonderful thing. I couldn't believe it. Because I was a big fan of his painting, and I wrote at one point, I guess he had posted on Facebook an old picture of his, and I said, "Oh, it's always a fantasy of mine to be drawn by you." And about a week later, this huge thing arrived, and it was a big original painting that he did of me.
Just since that comment, he just did.
Yeah, he did this painting that immediately. And it may be the last painting that he ever did. I don't know. I'd like to say so.
Yes,
but
I think you should.
He died shortly after.
Was it something you love, that if you were going to picture him painting you, is that what you would have pictured?
Kind of, yeah. So I have it hung up on my staircase. Yeah, I'm so proud of it. So really. Okay,
I just edited down the picture so people can see the beads. So there are the beads.
That's the beads.
and me with my 60s shirt with the oversized collar, because even in the audience, all I need to know is a theme, and I dress for the theater.
60s show, yeah. So anyway, but that was a wonderful thing, having this association with Michael Volbrock. I've been so lucky that way. My path, I've crossed paths with just extraordinary people, and sometimes just for a moment. But I'm just so. I really am incredibly grateful. I've just had a wonderful time.
Are you a collector of personalities? Like, when you meet someone interesting, does it get filed in your head and I will use that somewhere?
I mean, like in my work, you mean?
Yeah, that, you come across somebody who's just such a character, and they may speak to you as this is a character I would like to incorporate into something.
I don't think that's ever happened.
Wow.
I don't think it ever has. So often my work has been movie inspired. Many of my plays have been movie genre homages. So, I don't know if I don't think I've had that experience. Isn't that funny?
Wow.
Yes. Sense with Julie, just I was so enraptured with her when I first met her that
you wrote for her.
And because when we first started working together in 1984, she didn't really quite know who she was and how she sort of just vague ideas of being a performer. She really was working on Wall Street in an office. So, but and when we first did Vampire Lesbians for just a couple nights at the Limbo Lounge, that wasn't written for her, so it wasn't totally her trip. But then the next show that we did at the Limbo Lounge in this bar, Theodora, She Bitch of Byzantium, I wanted her to be in it, so I wrote her a part of the Dowager Empress Aunt Vulva, and there I'm going to write it for her, and she was just so funny, just hanging around with her, just the way she would express herself in her Long Island accent, and Charles, thoughts and reflections upon the death of Marvin Gaye. Can we, just she would just be, expressing herself in this sort of way, and I found that just so inspiring. So in a certain sense, what you say is that's what happened, and I started writing lines in for her where she could go from grand dame to suddenly talking, like this, and that was fun, and I love that. I love writing for specific people. It's really fun. I mean, when I had my theater company, I wrote I don't know how many plays for this ensemble, and it was all the same people, and it was like having an old motion picture contract player.
Oh yeah, sure. Of course, you have a troupe.
Yeah, and the challenge was to each person. I was so fortunate that nobody was bland at all. Each person had a big personality and had what we called their trip that they did on stage that was so unique. Each one of them, and that made it easy. So the challenge was to include their trip, so the audience would, they would tell there's Teresa, she's going to do her talking around kind of rough thing,
They got what they came for.
But at the same time, you can't write the exact same play every time, and you don't want the actors to get bored with, so I have to just do exactly the same performance in the next play. So it was a challenge to stretch them, at the same time preserve what their unique shtick was.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to write almost against the type that, you get out of Julie, to just sort of see how far that could go.
Yeah, I mean, you should try. I mean, I've stretched her in different places, and, or just knowing her. So in this movie, Patrick Stewart, she plays a widow whose husband died 2 years before, and that Julie had this terrible tragedy.
This has happened, sure.
Where her husband, this wonderful newscaster, Ralph Howard, died. And so some people might say it's cruel, but it's also, in a way, a gift to an actor that she has a whole monologue where she's talking about, and it's almost verbatim from things that I've heard Julie talk about how she misses Ralph. And so it allows her as an actress, she doesn't have to do any kind of trying to imagine how that character would be. She can just completely use her own experience. And
what you're saying is reminding me, and I'm looking for it right now. Charles wrote a great book called Whores of Lost Atlantis, which is a sort of a fictionalized version of those early days and how these people found each other. Wait, there it is. Okay. And there's is that the original cover? That was the cover I had.
Yes.
That was my favorite cover, because you'll find it with several different covers. But that's my favorite.
Years later, in whole different publisher, yeah.
But it's such a great book, and it's so insightful because it really does capture that time in the early 80s, I guess.
Yeah. I've recently just finished a regular memoir.
Oh, really?
My life, and I've been working on it for years, and finally, it's at least it's finished to the point that I'm submitting it to find a publisher, and I've got a wonderful new agent who's.
That's right, because your old agent died on you.
Yeah, he just died last November. He was my agent, but then he was became my manager for 30 years, and he was a fascinating, difficult, wonderful man, and I find I miss him more every month. Really? I miss him more. Well, he lived in Palm Springs, so I only saw him physically twice a year.
Oh.
Once a year when he would come to New York, and once a year I'd go to Palm Springs. So I didn't see him very often. So when he died, it wasn't like somebody that I see all the time. You know, I mean, I
Right.
spoke to him on the phone every 2 weeks, but so anyways, when he died, it sort of seemed like, oh, I just haven't seen him in a while, or he's on vacation. And then when at a certain point, I just miss him rather desperately. I wish I could talk to him right this minute. But what was the point? So yeah, anyway, so I have a new agent, and but a very exciting thing happened to me this
Well, what
last
happened?
month. Oh, one of the most exciting things in my entire life.
Tell.
Yeah, well, a chapter. Tom Judson had an idea that of taking a chapter from my memoir, and fashioning it into. He helped me fashion into a standalone short story.
Okay.
And, it was published in the New Yorker.
Oh, this is the one about your aunt.
Yeah, so
Yes,
that was
I read it
a month ago, and I still can't quite believe that I had a story in the New Yorker. I mean, it doesn't get better as far as literary fiction. It doesn't get better than that.
And it was so descriptive. It was really, you paint. I don't know how else to say it, but with your words, you paint. I could actually visualize things.
Thank you. Well, it meant so much to me. First of all, my aunt Lillian, who adopted me and raised me, she who was the most important, the greatest influence in my life, and I owe so much to her. Really, she really could have saved my life when I was 14 years old. Really did.
And also opened the doors to so many things in your life.
Everything. I mean, not a day goes by that I don't reflect on some life lesson that she taught me, or some advice, or imagining how she would respond, or how I should respond to something. Because how would she have responded to this challenge?
What I also got out of it is that there was unconditional love, and it seemed like that was the first place where you experienced that.
Well, in the fact that she just was absolutely devoted to me.
Completely.
Yeah, and always thinking about me, and it was, relationship had some complexity to it as well, particularly as I got older, but I don't know how many people can say this about a parental figure, that every single choice she made for me was the correct one.
Wow. That is rare, if even possible.
I mean, for one thing, where I'm so lucky is that I do think, I would imagine, I've never had children, but I would imagine for a lot of parents, they start off with a certain fantasy of who they hope that child will be. And then, if the child turns out to be gay, or a child turns out to have interests different from their own, that's a challenge. And a disappointment, I guess, to a father maybe there's a father who's so interested in sport, and the kid has no interest. That's a big disappointment.
Sure.
And it can be a fatal thing in some relationships. I think with Aunt Lillian, she was lucky that my interests turned out to be similar to hers. But I absolutely can say this without any doubt, that whatever my interests would have been, how far different from her own, she would have embraced.
Really?
Had I been that athletic kid, it would have been a little difficult for her, because she would have
gone there.
She would have found the sports camp. She would have found the books or whatever that I would want to read that are about that subject, or if I was interested in science, she would have figured out the equipment that I would microscope I'd want. But so in this case with the theater, it was something that was more her interest.
Thank God.
Yeah, but it didn't matter. Now her whole thing was just, what is the raw material that I have, and what am I going to make with this?
Right.
And that was the thing. And
it's a great story. People should look it up in the New Yorker. They can do a Google search. The article's online. You've also posted it on Facebook.
Yeah. So I was just thrilling. And so it was certainly very encouraging for my book.
And probably is going to help sell it. If that's something right out of the book.
Yes, I think it's being very helpful. But already.
Before, I know we're running late, so I have to go, but I just found a photo of us and I don't know what it is. So I'm going to click on it. Charles, where are we? With Sarah Jessica Parker and Seth.
And who else is there? And who's that? Oh, that's James Wesley over there.
Yep, that's James.
And way in the back, is that?
I don't know who that is. Is he with me? Was I sleeping with somebody?
I don't know. But where was it? At one of my plays, probably.
It must have been. I want to say it's the one with Kathleen Turner. Is that possible?
Possible.
Might be.
Possible. Anyway, Sarah Jessica has been very, very supportive.
You look very chic. You look like something out of like Anna Karenina or something.
One of my winter hats. Yes.
I love that photo. I had no recollection of this photo. I don't even know why this photo even exists, but I just looked up on my computer Busch Masters, and amazing what you'll see. Who knew?
Yeah. And she's a great gal. She and Matthew, they I do a Christmas show every year except this coming year.
Times Square Angel, yes.
And it's we won't be doing it this year. And she and Matthew Broderick, they've come every year for 10 years, and their children have been raised on that play.
Is she somebody that you would like to work with? Can you see her in a play?
Well, yes. In fact, she was going to be in our movie. We offered her a role, and she really wanted to do it, but her schedule, she tried to rearrange things, and she couldn't do it. So that was too bad. I was disappointed. Yeah, because it would have been fun to have that chance. Because I think she's a wonderful actress. And that kind of, she has a sort of effortless naturalism, and when she, there aren't that many actors who, when you hear them read a play or read a scene, that you can't imagine it's on paper. Like just like the city, it was so real that it was hard picturing it as dialogue on a script. I felt it just pours out of her in a wonderful way.
Yeah, I think when the perfect role comes for the perfect person, it is effortless.
Yeah, but she just has a very effortless style too. So she told me that she didn't think like in my usual kind of plays, which are very stylized, that's not a kind of acting that she feels she does well. That she's just really naturalistic, stuff. And so that's why I thought in this movie, it would require.
I think that would be what would make it interesting, actually.
Yeah, but she wasn't available. But anyway.
Well, anyway. Fuck her. No, we love her. We will remind people that primarystages.org is where you can see the tribute artists starting. Is it tomorrow?
Is it the 30th? I should have been prepared and like a good person promoting their work, but I don't know.
Okay, I'm looking at it right now, so I guess I'll find out any second. Well, let's see. I'm at tribute artist shows, tickets. Come on, show me just this one show. Okay, there it is. Tribute artists. It's the 30th, September 30th through October 4th. So, and you can go right here, primarystages.org. Leave that up for a few minutes, for God's sakes. Fabulous play, and I'm now very interested because I'm going to be interested in what you did with it. What I loved, you've done now several of your plays online with Seth and with other people. Yeah. And one of my favorite things, I think it was in Die Mommy Die, where one character was supposed to pass the folder.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the folder appeared, and I'm like, oh my God, the folder's there.
Yes, we do that again. We do this one also. Yeah.
No, I think that's fabulous.
I think that we really were trying to up the game. Well, it was interesting. Like as I said, when I just looking at that little clip that you showed me from Alge's wife, which was the very first Zoom reading I did.
Yeah.
We really have had a learning curve, and each one we've figured out. And the technology in a brief amount of time has gotten StreamYard has gotten better. And,
God, I know.
Yeah, and Zoom and
when it works.
When it works. Well, yeah, that's the other thing. We weren't going to do it live because we just didn't want a chance.
Yeah, what do you do?
These things. So yes, and indeed, so we recorded it over the course of 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think they really felt that if they're going to charge money,
it should be good.
It should be good and give the customers a professional show. So. Yeah.
Well, I also should mention that a lot of your shows people can listen to. You've done them as radio readings.
Yeah, for LA Theater Works.
Yeah, and it's funny because you mentioned this when you did Die Mommy Die last year, which I went to. While everybody is basically in street clothes, you do dress for those because you're playing that part.
Yes, well, at LA Theater Works, I felt because we were doing it in front of a live, it was a radio show,
But with a
recorded
live studio
in
audience.
front of a live audience, and I think that when we did other ones, though, I did Lady Bracknell and Lady in the Importance of Being Earnest and Die Mommy Die. No, and I'm sorry, another one, The Divine Sister, and I did them just in my own street clothes.
Really?
But with Die Mommy Die, I just felt that I should be in costume, and the audience would enjoy that, and so I did. And I found with these Zoom shows I've been doing, the first few I did not do in costume either. Like that Allergist's Wife, I think I put a little more eye makeup on and fluffed my hair out, but I did not. But then I guess, which was
Die Mommy Die, you did.
I thought, I thought, I'm going to go to the effort and I'll get made up for that. And then Lily Dare, I did that.
That was so beautifully shot, by the way.
Costume. And then, and so this tribute artist, I'm in drag too. I kind of think, it's wanted to give more of a sense of the play, and so I wanted to look like the character as she appears in the play.
And also, I should just mention when we said LA Theater Works, the Lady Bracknell is so marvelous.
Oh, you heard that?
I wasn't there for it, but I downloaded it and listened to it. It's extraordinarily hysterical.
I was pretty good, wasn't I?
First off, you were completely not what I expected. I thought you were going to bring me much more Charles Busch-ism, and yet you really created a completely different character, which was hysterically funny.
No, that was interesting. It was not a part that I ever wanted to do, frankly.
I would never picture you doing it.
No, but I
can.
I had done a bunch of things for LA Theater Works, and then I just happened to see, I don't know, posted that upcoming they were going to do Importance of Being Earnest. And I thought, well, I wouldn't want to do a full production of that play, but I'd kind of like take a crack at it. And this is an easy way of doing it with 1 week of rehearsal and then 4 live performances or whatever it was. So I emailed them and I said, is it a totally insane idea that maybe I should play Lady Bracknell? And they thought it was a great idea. So we did it, and it got it out of my system. But I wanted to I prepared, and you only get 1 week of rehearsal for these things.
Sure.
So fortunately with YouTube, I went on and I just started looking at clips of every famous actress who ever played Lady Bracknell, and I stole
from everyone.
Yeah, so I want to see exactly what the app is, and I'm going to do the best. I'm going to take that line reading from Edith Evans, and that line reading from Joan Plowright, and that one from Wendy Hiller. And
did you have a favorite since you did study all of them?
Well, the other thing that was helpful was I actually looked up a bunch of bad productions, just like sort of community theater or regional theater productions, particularly where they had like a man playing the part. Which
really?
Yeah, just to see what what's the word? What mistake? Not mistake.
What not to do?
Yes, what's like what not to do. And I thought, don't go there. So that was really interesting. So I was very prepared. So when I showed up, I really knew. Although it was funny, I got a facility for accents. Yes, I know. A lot of people have, and I thought my British accent was just flawless. So when we were rehearsing, they brought in a dialect coach for everybody, and
coach for you.
Notes. He was giving notes to the different actors, and I was sitting there rather smug, thinking, "Well, of course, there'll be no notes from me. I'm flawless with a British accent, and I've done my research." And then he said, "Charles, I have a couple notes for you. There's that word that I was just off on it. Me, and it was so. But he was right. There were a couple.
Really.
Yeah, and he had a wonderful analogy. Frankly, I can't even remember his name, but he said that with a dialect like that, it's like holding up a piece of black velvet in front of a light, and you'll see a couple little pinpricks of light come through, and that's the little mistakes in your accent. And it's just little things. And so he corrected them, and but I did have terrible attitude at first. It's like a note I'm doing a British accent. Yeah, but he was right. He was right.
It's great. People should, and I think if I'm not mistaken, The Importance of Being Earnest can be downloaded for free on their website. So you should
Really?
definitely, yes.
Yeah,
So people,
yeah.
I think it's in like 2 or 3 files, and definitely download it. It was for free at one point. I don't want to.
Well, I think because of the pandemic, they were trying to open up stuff. I don't know.
Because I found it and I said, well, I never knew he did this. And I downloaded it. And it was one of those things I just like listened to as I was walking and laughing all by myself.
Well, they got great. They get great casts. We had that actor James Marsters, who was, I guess, on Buffy the Vampire Killer.
Yes, right. Yes. Oh, and he's very sexy.
Very sexy, and he was in it, and all sorts of British actors, and it was cool. They got it out of my system, so I never have to play Lady Bracknell.
But in maybe 10 or 20 years, you may want to.
I don't really know. In some ways, I think I may be retired from the theater. I don't know.
Don't you dare say that to me.
I think when the theater comes back, I may not be there with it. I think I may try to focus on other forms of self-expression as opposed to the theater.
Well, if you do that, then you can have a big return.
Well, exactly. And at 80 years old, I'll come back and I can yell, I'll be wired up, so then it'll be a great return. So maybe that'll be it. Yeah, but I don't know. But then it could very well happen. I say it now, and I think I'm right. However, that said, I could get some fantasy about, wouldn't it be fun to play blah, 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 blah. And I'll do it at Theater of the New City. And we do it kind of just inexpensively and quickly.
I am putting on my glasses because there is one thing I wanted to show, which is that you were just recently, I know I said I was going to close, but you had recently gotten an award from the Provincetown Theater Company.
Yeah.
David Drake, go ahead, tell them.
Good.
So the Provincetown Theater Company has a playwright, American Playwrights Award. It's the Papa Award. And it was Terrence McNally was first. Is that correct?
I'm the third honoree. It was Terrence McNally and then Paula Vogel and then me. It's great company I'm in.
Oh, it's an extraordinary company. And they held this online event, which was really fabulous.
Well, it was very, very touching. They had different friends and colleagues of mine saying nice things about me. And I tell you, David Drake and I go way back. I think he would say that I kind of give him a big break. Yes. As a very, very young man. It was 23 or something, took over Vampire Lesbians of Sodom and played it probably longer than I did. So I followed his career and he's made a great success of running this theater in Provincetown and taking over a rather moribund theater and giving it new life and great ambition. He does not play it safe at all. Big
huge shows,
big productions and difficult shows, and Sweeney Todd
which was an extraordinarily beautiful production.
And Love, Valor, and Compassion. He doesn't do the 2-person play just to play it safe. It's big ambitious choices, and they've each just paid off. And I'm so proud of them.
Are you at the point now that you're getting these awards?
I've gotten kind of a slew of them. It's lovely. I've gotten a bunch of these honorary awards, from different places, and I'm very, very touched by it. It's lovely to think that, after doing something for 40 years, that you had some kind of impact on someone, and it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. Wherever I'm lucky enough to be honored.
When you're honored, does it make you feel like reflective on the career, or does it give you drive to continue to create? Because it is sort of retrospective. Right.
Yes, it can seem sort of aging, I guess, but I'm a terrible interviewer here. I'm just giving you nothing.
No, you're fabulous.
I'm like Streisand. I'm really thinking about the answer to the question. I used to be very glib. I've lost the power to be glib years ago. I get so embarrassed when I look at any old interview, particularly in print, that I gave, and I would give such glib answers to rather complex questions. And of course, I got the feeling that people didn't really want the answer. They really wanted a soundbite anyway, and they didn't really want some long, serious answer. So people ask me these important things about why I was in drag or what it meant to me, and I would just give just glib responses. And I don't know, it happened somewhere along the line about 10 years ago, maybe. I lost the ability to be flippant, and I just I don't know. I think it has its pros and cons. I think it's good in a certain sense, but then if somebody just wants, in 20 words or less, give me an answer. Why are you in drag? I can't do it anymore. So I'm just really, it's like Streisand. You always see her get that squinty look in her face, and she's really answering the question.
Yeah, but what's worse is when they give you the same answer. I'm a fan of people that I talk to, so I know a lot of the stories, and when they start saying them the same way they've told it for 20 years, I tune out. There was one person on this show, I don't want to say who it was, but there was one person who's been on this show twice who told the same exact story both times the exact same way.
Oh, it's very difficult, though, because there is a finite amount of stories in your head. And, I've told the story about how I met Julie, or I've told the story about how we started doing Vampire Lesbians, or about my aunt. I've told those stories so many times, and you try to breathe new life into it, but it's hard when you tell the same fucking story,
Well, I think also for a performer, if you know a way that tells it that's going to get a laugh at this point, or is going to build an arc at that way, you don't want to fuss with it. And I think people who are promoting a certain show and they're on a junket doing 20 interviews.
Yeah, it's very hard. But twice I've been challenged with that. One time, when I started seeing a new therapist years ago, shrink, and you have to give a certain amount of material to the shrink, to fill them in on what your story is, and it was so hard because I thought I don't want to be just doing my cabaret act for him, telling my stories, and so I was trying to kill my timing. I thought I'm not there to get him. So I was trying intentionally start killing the punchline so that because I'm not there to entertain the shrink. And then the other big challenge was this working on my memoir, my book, because I would write the story that I've told a million times in various versions, in life or in cabaret, where I've really boiled it down to a cabaret anecdote. And in this case, you've got the opportunity to really tell the truth and go into
and not be glib.
And go into detail and really go into what was I thinking back then, and that was hard to try to get the slick, entertainment version of the story, and think, what was I thinking during that period, and trying to remember it. That's really hard. I mean,
I bet
the facts you can sort of figure out, and then if somebody helps you remember. Carl knows my life better than I do. Because I've told him so many stories.
Right.
What happened then? He goes, "No, don't you remember? You did." He wasn't even there.
But he's heard it.
He heard it so well. But,
I found in your Papa Award for the Provincetown Theater, a bunch of us spoke about you. I was one of the people, and mine was trimmed. So I just found my full version. So I'm going to show you my full version now, because I don't think I ever sent it to you, and I think and so this is what I really would have said. Oh, and now you'll get to see me with hair again. Okay, hold on. Where is it? There it is. Hello, I'm comedian and columnist Billy Masters. March 16th, 1988 was a momentous night in my life. That night, I saw Provincetown Theater's future artistic director, David Drake, star in a play written by Charles Busch. The play was the off-Broadway smash hit Vampire Lesbians of Sodom, but for me, it's known as The Night Charles Busch Kissed Me, and David Drake Kissed Me. They didn't kiss me at the same time. Well, there was that one time. Anyway, I am thrilled over the years that I have been able to consider these two trailblazers dear friends. And I am ecstatic that Charles Busch is the recipient of the Provincetown American Playwrights Award. Affectionately known as the Papas, Charles Busch will always be known to me as the grande dame of gay American theater. No, strike that. He is the grande dame of gay theater. No, he's the grande dame of theater. Full stop. Congratulations, Charles. Congratulations, Provincetown Theater. And congratulations to David Drake for bringing us all together. Hope to see you all soon.
Well, that was very, very sweet. Thank you so much, Billy. Can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm back. I'm so glad because I think it's a perfect way to end because I met David first, but I really met him through your words. And then, of course, through his performance, I met you. And then, of course, we all met.
Yeah.
And I think there is this line, and I think so many people today don't really look at how those threads came together. And we're all just sort of intertwined in each other's lives and work and whatever. I mean, as we said at the beginning, when I started doing this show, I don't know how many times you were on that you jumped in at the last minute. I said, the best was I called you up and asked, I said, hi, Charles, what are you doing? And his answer to me was, who canceled?
A big part of my career is filling in for people. I honestly think my cabaret career began because I don't know for sure, but I think Varla Jean Merman canceled out of a couple dates, and Mark Cartali, her manager, called me and said, would you do this? Didn't say this because of Varla, but I suspect it had to be. It was last minute, but started me off on a wonderful adventure.
And I think some of the times I've thrown you in at the last minute, the time with Michelle Lee stands out for me because we just had so much fun. And she was very concerned about doing the show. And I said, what can I do to put her at ease? And I said, and my friend Freddie had said, call Charles. And it was literally half hour before show. And you said, hang up, I got to get ready. Boom, that was it. It was, and we were on. So thank you for being a friend of the show. And I'm so excited now. I'm going to have to go right now and buy a ticket to Primary Stages. I'll put it up again, primarystages.org. The tribute artist starting this Thursday, this week, the 30th. No, not this week. It's
what day is the 30th? Is that Saturday?
30th is next Wednesday. So it's probably Wednesday through Sunday. It's the 30th through the 4th. So, next week, be sure to check it out. Thank you, my darling, for being on again. I love it. Well, do it again soon, probably when somebody else cancels.
Yes, I'll be there for you.
Well, you always are. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye, my love. Thank you for watching Billy Masters Live. Next week, Tuesday, Lonnie Anderson is here, unless she cancels, and then Charles Busch will be back as Lonnie Anderson, perhaps in wig. And then next Thursday, Florian Klein. Take care of yourselves, people. Check out billymasters.com for the latest columns, and we'll see you next week. This has been Billy Masters Live. And just remember, and it's really true this time, if we're here, we're live. Bye, guys.